You're right, you bunch of wankers. How's it going? My name is Gitbag the Great, and welcome to another commentary for you beautiful people. I was on the verge actually of almost not doing a video today, but I decided to do one for you guys just because I felt a bit generous and a bit sort of charitable today, shall we say. So I'm just going to be doing some commentary about sort of little bits and bobs I've been seeing recently, and in the background you'll be seeing some FIFA 15 career mode footage where I've taken Charlton Athletic into the FA Cup final against Manchester City. So if you want to watch that, you can. It's all right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's been a bunch of things happening recently on this website, hasn't there? Like good God, that whole drama about the Leafy versus H3 Productions thing. God, didn't that go crazy for a bit? I mean, the thing is, the origins of that whole sort of disagreement were kind of understandable, weren't they? You come to think, if you really think about it, they really were. I mean, Leafy makes a somewhat sort of slanderous video, and I don't know if he did know that the guy he was making the video about was autistic or not beforehand. I mean, that's for Leafy and the autistic chap he made the video about to tell us. But of course he did end up getting a lot of hate for it, Leafy, and then H3 comes back, makes a video criticising him very heavily for it and saying that they're friends, and then Leafy comes out and says like, hey, hang on a fucking moment, pal, we've been friends for ages. You said like you hated like other like commentary channels like Pyrocynical, and now you're sort of like and then you're sort of like licking my ass, now you're licking Pyrocynical's ass going against me, and it turns into this whole devolving sort of spiral of just absolute dick-wittery. And the thing is, the original guy who was the victim of the whole thing, Tommy NC 2010, I mean, his channel has exploded. I mean, it's like in recent sort of days, his channel, I think, has gone from let me just check. It's gone from... You'll have to give me a moment just to look at this for a moment. Yeah, in like literally like a week and a bit, Tommy NC 2010 has literally gone from like 2,000 subscribers to almost 135,000 subscribers. I mean, big fucking cred to the dude. He deserves it. I mean, the thing is, I'm sure I must have mentioned this a couple of times in videos on this channel and on my politics channel, but I myself, I'm mildly autistic, so when I see other internet personalities from the same sort of like, group as me, I mean, I don't like to get into sort of like identity politics and all that rubbish a lot, but the thing is like when I see, other autistic, internet personalities, coming to terms with like what autism means and how it affects them, and making it big on the internet, it really is quite heartening. I'm quite pleased to see this happen for Tommy NC 2010. He's a nice guy and he makes good videos, and I think he's, it seems like a lovely kind of guy. Very hearty personality, and I definitely recommend you go check out his channel. But the thing is, I mean, the whole sort of controversy about the sort of videos that were made about him, and the fact that H3 projected the idea that it's like these kind of channels could be sort of seen as abusive, is the weird point that he made that Leafy is here like made videos bullying kids, and yet H3 Productions has made videos in the past that are starkly similar. So it's like, come on, dude, you can't really say that kind of shit like about Leafy sort of making videos criticising Matty B and shit like that, little sort of like egotistical sort of child prodigy sort of rappers and music video kids and all that shit, when you've done that stuff yourself before. I mean, not to mention the fact that H3 Productions in the past has made like jokes on his channel that could be considered somewhat sort of insensitive to autistic people. I mean, to me, I didn't find it all that offensive myself, but it's just like, it's like, come on, dude, like, seriously, you've got to recognise when someone makes a joke that's a bit edgy. You can't go and sort of criticise them for doing such a thing when you've done it yourself. I mean, it's just a bit two-faced to me. And the thing is, it's like, I think this whole situation was summed up best by Pyrocynical himself, who said, it's like, it's not the sort of YouTubers who are at fault, it's their toxic fans, and they need to sort of police their fan base a bit more, which I do agree with very much. He hit it on the nail on the head there. And one other thing he mentioned recently in one of his more recent videos was the fact that we need to stick together as a community on YouTube. You know, we can criticise people for certain things, but ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all content creators. We've all got to ultimately stick together, and we've all ultimately got to, unite under the banner of content creation and stand against things like, copyright claims and shit like that. And, you can criticise some YouTubers sometimes for certain things, but you can't really go to this sort of extent of just being really bitter and angry about it that, Pyrocynical highlights in his more recent videos. I mean, it just seems like a waste of energy and time, and I have been like that, I'll admit, to other YouTubers before, but at the same time, it's just like, nowadays, I just realise there's just no point. It's like, literally, you're just, like, wasting your time. I just don't see the point in creating drama for the sake of, like, just drama or, like, petty sort of disagreements and anger. It's just going to be a thing that's going to come back and bite you in the arse and ruin your professional and personal relationships. So you might as well just try and get along, and, if you can't get along with someone, then at least be polite with them. It's just as simple as that. I've learned that throughout my life through a number of different experiences, and I think while you can criticise a YouTuber for a number of things depending on their circumstances and the kind of content they make and the circumstances in which they make their content, I think at the same time you've also got to just realise that you can't take it too far. You've got to sort of take a look at this proportionally, and I don't know, I don't think a lot of YouTubers do sometimes, and I think that's why Pyrocynical went into such a big sort of skit about this, in his recent videos, is that he said, YouTubers just seem to take the business of making YouTube videos too seriously, and some degree they take it far too personally as well. So I think we just need to chill out for a bit, have a couple of Stella Artois like I am having right now, and just chill out, have a nice evening, chill out, and just enjoy making your content. Yes, I've been sort of like particularly cross and angry at other YouTubers before, and at the same time I've also learned over time it's probably just a better idea really just to leave it alone and just be relaxed and chilled out with it. And if you are going to criticise someone, do it in sort of a polite and logical way. Don't make any too rash sort of unfounded accusations. It's just like, it just feels to me like this site is becoming more and more like a ground for a drama, and the fact that we kind of tend to be sort of steering more towards that sort of sense of drama rather than original content creation just seems to me like a bit of a adverse effect on the whole idea of the free market that YouTube has uniquely created. I mean, this is kind of the reason why I think TV has gone downhill in the past decade and a half, is because it concentrated way too much on drama and sort of reality TV shows. I mean, it's come back in recent years, of course, with cartoons like The Legend of Korra, The Avatar: The Last Airbender, and TV shows like Game of Thrones, Gladius, and Daredevil, sort of things like that. And then there's still some, educational and sort of like political shows out there that are pretty good, like Question Time, and some news chat shows are pretty good still. So you just kind of got to look at it a little bit as sort of more like a free market where we've got to sort of just do what we want really, and not just get bogged down in sort of a drama, because if we do that, then not only do we poison the sort of scene of YouTube, but we also ruin the creation sort of links between every YouTuber that there is to have. I mean, it just doesn't seem like a particularly sort of productive and wise thing to do to me, and not only in the short term, but also in the long run as well. It not only impacts people in the short term by making them angry and ruining their personal relationships, but ruins it in the long run by poisoning the greater scene of, creative connections and sort of connection between creative content creators on YouTube by doing such a thing as, creating drama and sort of revolving around it. It just seems like a particularly contradictory thing to such a free market site as YouTube. I mean, where do we go from here if every channel is like a drama channel? It just doesn't seem like a particularly reasonable thing to me. I mean, there is a scene, I think, for some But I don't think every channel should be like that. And even then, I think the drama channels do have to reel it in a bit and control their audiences somewhat. Because sometimes you can get really bad situations like what happened with Leafy and this Tommy NC 2010 character. So I do think, you know, this has to be sort of regulated a little bit. I'm not calling for censorship. Don't get me wrong, I fucking hate censorship. That's why I thought the SOPA plan in 2011 was a fucking awful idea. But I'm just saying that YouTubers do have somewhat of a responsibility to keep an eye out on their, you know, fucking audiences. I mean, good God, like, what if we have, like, one of these Tommy NC 2010 sort of situations every week? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that Tommy NC 2010 is, you know, blowing up like he is. He deserves the credit and the success, but at the same time, you've got to think, where would this site be if, like, a case like that happened every single week? It would just be carnage, and it wouldn't work. I just think, you know, the more we concentrate on drama like that, the more we take away from real content creators like, say, I don't know, JonTron, or the vast array of, you know, animators on this website, or, you know, FIFA YouTubers, or, like, goddamn, you know, music video makers. Like, you know, irregardless of what you think of any of those genres on YouTube, or any others for that matter, you know, you've got to admit, they do create a lot of, you know, interesting content that is creative to some degree or another. And the thing is I just don't see drama as just being that creative. It's just people's emotions just getting in the way of their better logical judgment. It just doesn't strike me as a particularly constructive sort of thing to do. So I think we should all just, you know, chill out, take a step back, relax, drink some beers, you know, well, only if you're allowed to drink beers in your country. I mean, I know each country has, like, something kind of somewhat different, you know, drinking age laws, so, you know, keep a lookout on what the drinking laws are in your country and state. But even still, you know, just have a couple of drinks, you know, chill out, and just, you know, if someone gets a bit angry at you, just say, hey, look, man, can we have some, you know, private DMs? Can we have a private, you know, chilled out conversation about this, because I don't want to make this public. I mean, now, that's another thing. If you make it public, it's just going to get worse. You're just going to piss people off. You're going to make people think you're taking them out of context. You're just going to make things just feel a whole lot, you know, angrier. And that's just not going to make anyone feel nice, is it? So I think, yeah, just, you know, chill out and, you know, talk about it privately and professionally as well. And, you know, I'm not going to say that's going to solve every situation, but at the same time, it should solve most of them. I mean, it's like, it's such a simple sort of thing to do, really, I feel, and I just don't know why more YouTubers do it. I don't know. I did used to be a little less like that, but at the same time, I've matured, I've gotten older, and I just think it's high time that everyone else on this site does as well. I mean, I'm not saying everyone is a drama channel, of course. That's not to say that, you know, this entire site is poison to the core. But if we keep going down this road, then we probably will end up being like that, and I don't want that to happen. I want this channel, you know, to be a gaming channel. I want every channel on this site to be its own sort of thing, you know, regardless of whatever genre it might belong to. So, you know, we just have to chill out and take a bit of a step back, and if we do get into an argument with someone, try to keep it private and try to keep it professional, because otherwise you're just going to make things really bitter, really poisonous, and it's just going to sound, you know, really shitty when it comes into, like, legal proceedings. Hopefully it doesn't, if that ever happens. Thank God. You know, it rarely does, but at the same time, it's just like, look, just chill out, be private about it, and don't, you know, make it public, because drama shouldn't be public. It should be, you know, as private as possible. That's as simple as it is, really. I don't know. I get a feeling like some channels do thrive on that, and there are some channels out there who are more like commentary channels, and to some degree I've made a lot of videos recently that have been like commentary videos, and I suppose this one is kind of as well, but at the same time, you've kind of got to temper it a little bit, I think. And again, I'm not trying to make an argument for censorship, don't get me wrong, I fucking hate censorship, but at the same time, it's just like, oh, goodness gracious me, I don't know, maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree, I don't think I am, really, but, you know, you guys tell me what you think in the comment section below. I just think this site is concentrating a bit too much on drama, or at least the individual content creators are concentrating a bit too much on drama rather than making their own videos at the moment. It just seems like a bit of a poisonous road we're going down, and I don't think that's particularly productive, not only to the attitudes of the people who are making videos on this website, but also the website itself. I don't know. It seems like a particularly contradictory thing to do, and I just don't think it's particularly healthy either. So, what else has been happening recently? Well, not much, actually. That's kind of really the main thing that's been happening recently, is that sort of Leafy and Tommy NC 2010 thing, him having a falling out with H3 Productions, whole drama revolving around that, and stuff like that. That's kind of really the main thing that's been sort of like occupying my attention as of the last few days. That and playing a lot of FIFA 15 career mode. I tried playing like FIFA 16 career mode, but for some reason it just doesn't feel right with me. I just can't really play it. It just feels like a little bit too sort of slippery and sort of just weird. And FIFA 15 wasn't the most refined sort of FIFA game of all time, but at the same time, the career mode on it I always felt was quite solid and sort of, clean cut. Maybe not the most efficient, but it's good, and I feel like it's the one I have the most balance between sort of having a challenge and also being able to do reasonably well in. So I think, yeah, no, I've just been playing a lot of that recently. I've been playing a bit more of Fallout 4 recently, and one game actually I've really been getting into recently has been Shogun 2 Total War, which is a really good strategy game released in God, I keep forgetting the release date. It's 2011, isn't it? I swear it is. Let me just have a look at this. Just trying to remember if it's 2000. Yeah, it's 2011. Shogun 2 Total War was released. Great strategy game. Definitely. Oh, pardon me. Definitely in my top 5 of both real-time strategy games and video game sequels. An absolute classic of the modern age of PC gaming. I think they tried to make a console version of it, but it kind of went through mainly because the game was just too complex to have on consoles, and I don't think they were really giving that much thought to it anyway in the first place. But it's just, such a good game, and it represents ancient Japanese culture so well. And not only that, but you also get 2 really good expansion packs with it: The Rise of the Samurai, which is following sort of like the rise of the samurai culture around 600 to sort of like 1200 AD or so, and then you've got the vanilla game, which is set around sort of the great sort of like shinobi sort of like Boshi Wars, which is like for goodness sake, just give me a moment. Sorry, that was just my phone. Shit, forgot where my train of thought was. For fuck's sake. Yeah, the main thing is, I think why I enjoyed Shogun 2 Total War so much as compared to the original one is because it's a really good follow-up. That not only, keeps a lot of the same game elements of the previous game, but also, improves upon it and sort of evolves it to keep in touch with sort of the modern day of age of, modern real-time strategy games, and I think that's kind of like the core sort of thing you have to do with a sequel in a video game, is you have to sort of keep it somewhat similar in terms of the gameplay to the previous games, but you also have to kind of update it in order to keep it fresh and keep it up to date with the games of the same genre of the same time that it's happening with. That's why I think a series like, say, the Total War series has managed to evolve quite well. It's gone from strength to weakness, but also from strength to strength at times. We've seen like really good games released in that series over the years, like Rome 1, Medieval 2, Shogun 2, Alexander. I thought Napoleon was alright, but then you've got some slightly crappy ones like Empire and Rome 2 and Attila and stuff like that. So you kind of have to take it as you come with this series, but it's probably one of the better examples I've got of a sort of a video game series that sort of evolves with itself and sort of the modern age of video gaming, but also remembers its roots and doesn't sort of betray its sort of fan base too much. And I think you have to kind of sort of keep a good balance between that when you're making a good sort of long-standing video game series like the Total War series, or something like that, or the Devil May Cry series. I mean, the Devil May Cry series did try to reinvent itself a bit, and then they kind of clunked up, and then they kind of sort of went back to sort of the origins of the series and sort of updated it a bit, and they've tried to invent themselves a bit, and they've for the most part largely kept the same basic combat and sort of gameplay systems, but at the same time just managed to sort of update it a little bit here and there and try and reinvent themselves here and there a bit, not change it up too much, but keep it a bit fresh. I mean, I would say there are some cases where you can do that a little bit too much, perhaps. Like, say, one example I would say where reinvigorating yourself way too much is easily the Sonic the Hedgehog series, because I think one reason why that series is kind of like faltered in recent years isn't just solely because of the fact that they've produced some really horrifically crap games in that series in recent years, but is also the fact that, well, just for lack of a better word, they've really kind of just failed to focus on a sort of solid gameplay focus for like the better part of like 20 years, and really the focus of the series should be sort of Sonic speed, and then occasionally updating the sort of basic formula to keep it a little bit fresh. But they change it up, but Sega change it up so often and to such a degree that you can never get really gripped into any of the gameplay concepts in Sonic, and none of them are ever really given any time in following games to improve upon themselves. The only real example of this in recent years would be the Sonic Adventure series or the Genesis games. But the thing is, the Genesis games are really old now, and I mean, I'm not dissing them. The Genesis games are fucking superb. But then you have the Adventure series, which, it kept the same sort of gameplay formula throughout and just kind of didn't do really anything. And I don't know why people kind of compliment it so much. It's just kind of a very faulty game to me, and I just never really got into it myself. I don't know. It's just more down to personal taste, really, than anything. But yeah, I don't know. I get a feeling like the Sonic the Hedgehog series, more than anything, is failing due to the fact that it just never sticks with one concept for long enough and never develops it for long enough. I mean, even with the Sonic Adventure games, it only had the same concept for that for like 2 games, and then went on to something else, and just continues screwing itself in the arse just to think up of new crazy ideas. And I just can't understand why Sega are unable to just focus their minds on one solid concept and update it from game to game a little bit, in order to keep it fresh and stuff like that, and just, in order to keep it popular. There is one game there, and then of course the opposite of that, where you sort of don't update enough or you don't reinvent yourself enough with each successive entry, would probably be the Call of Duty series. Now, I'm not trying to make this into I hate Call of Duty entry, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm a big Call of Duty fan in the sense that I really loved the original World War II games, and I absolutely adored the shit out of Modern Warfare 1 and 2 and World at War. Those were some of my favourite FPSs of all time, but at the same time, I think we all have to admit that to some degree or another the games in recent years have gone down a little bit in general quality, considering the fact that they just never really seem to be able to, advance it past the basic formula of, like, fast-paced first-person shooting action. And I'm not saying that's bad. For the most part, I do like that sort of gameplay in most games, but at the same time, the way they present it, the way it's played in COD, really seems to update itself throughout the series, particularly over the last like 7 or 8 years, and I just feel like that it's going to stagnate, or that it's already stagnating to a point at which it can't really be recovered. I mean, the series is still really, really popular, of course, don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying the games are bad. None of them are really outright bad, except for probably Ghosts or, Black Ops 2 by my standard. But at the same time, I just feel like the series as a whole, it just isn't moving forwards quick enough, and I don't know, it just feels like it's stagnating. Although then again, of course, you've got to keep in mind that you can't really do the same thing as what the Sonic the Hedgehog series did, so I think the main lesson here is just try and get a good balance between respecting your roots of your series, but also, getting a good balance between that and improvising with each successive series to your, each successive entry into your series, sorry. As long as you do that, you should have a successful game series on your hands, and make that dollar moolah, get the babes and the apple syrup and all that shit. But I don't know. This was just kind of an unstructured ramble, really. I just kind of did want to speak a little bit about the recent drama, but at the same time, I just kind of wanted to speak about all sorts of things, and I just wanted to make sure you guys had at least one video today. So I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I have had making it and editing it and all that malarkey, and until next time, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Take care, have fun with whatever you're doing, and until next time, I'm Gitbag the Great, and I'll see you guys on the battlefield.